The forest held its breath as Sarah approached. Nestled within a choking shroud of fog, the cabin slumped like a dying beast, its bones of rotting timber barely holding it together. Decaying wood peeled away in damp strips, broken windows gaped like empty eye sockets, and thick, strangling vines clawed at its walls. Her phone's flashlight, a feeble spear against the overwhelming gloom, did little to push back the oppressive darkness as she moved forward, each step a reluctant surrender to the silence. The air was cold, heavy, and tasted of damp earth and something else, something ancient and forgotten. With a hesitant push, the door groaned open and Sarah stepped inside, disturbing a century of dust that swirled and danced in her single beam of light. The interior was a tomb of forgotten memories. Cobwebs draped over antique furniture like burial shrouds, their delicate threads shimmering faintly. In the center of the main room, a solitary oil lamp flickered, its weak flame throwing long, distorted shadows that writhed and leaped across the walls, performing a silent, macabre ballet. It was then she heard it, a faint rhythmic scratching from the floor above, a sound like nails dragging slowly across wood. Against her better judgment, she moved towards the source of the sound. The stairs protested her weight with a series of loud, agonizing creaks, each one echoing through the suffocating stillness of the cabin. Upstairs, in a small, dilapidated bedroom, a child's worn teddy bear sat propped against a pillow on a dusty bed. Its button eyes, dark and lifeless, seemed to fix on her, following her every move with an unnerving intensity. On a small table beside the bed, a diary lay open. Its pages were filled with disturbing, childlike sketches of misshapen figures and cryptic, scrawled entries that spoke of a man who watched from the shadows. As her eyes scanned the unsettling words, a flicker of movement in the periphery of her vision made her heart seize. A tall, gaunt shadow had darted across the wall behind her, gone as quickly as it appeared. She spun around, her light cutting wildly through the darkness, but there was nothing there, only the oppressive emptiness and the scratching sound which had now grown louder, more insistent, coming from just beyond the bedroom door. A primal fear began to tighten its icy grip around her chest. A wave of panic finally broke through her curiosity, and she turned to flee. She scrambled down the creaking stairs and threw herself at the front door, but it wouldn't budge. It was jammed solid, as if bolted from the outside. The scratching stopped, replaced by a new sound, a chorus of faint, sibilant whispers that seemed to emanate from the very walls of the cabin, slithering into her ears from all directions. Her gaze shot back to the top of the stairs, where the teddy bear's eyes now seemed to possess a faint, malevolent glow. He simply appeared, a specter materializing from the shadows of a doorway. The old man stood there, a gaunt figure whose eyes were dark, hollow pits of nothingness. He was mumbling, a low, incoherent stream of words that sounded like a prayer and a curse entwined. Slowly, deliberately, he began to move towards her, his feet shuffling against the floorboards. Sarah backed away, her hands fumbling behind her, searching for a weapon and escape, anything. The cabin erupted into a whirlwind of frantic motion. A desperate chase began, a chaotic dance of predator and prey through the labyrinthine rooms. The camera became an extension of Sarah's terror, shaky, disoriented, catching fleeting glimpses of her horrified face and the old man's relentless, shambling pursuit. Tables were overturned, chairs were thrown, and her own ragged breaths filled the air, punctuated by the man's guttural mumbling. In a final act of desperation, Sarah hurled a heavy lamp at a window. The glass shattered, offering a jagged doorway to the night. She scrambled through the opening, cutting herself on the shards, and fell onto the damp ground outside. Without a second's hesitation, she was on her feet and running, plunging headlong into the dark, tangled forest. She didn't dare look back, the sounds of the cabin fading behind her. Far away, safe for now, she might have seen the last, final image. The lone cabin deep in the woods with a strange, ominous glow now pulsing from within. A malevolent heartbeat in the center of the suffocating darkness. He found the camera in the forgotten corner of a dusty antique shop, a place that smelled of old paper and decaying memories. The shop was a labyrinth of discarded histories, dimly lit by a single flickering bulb that cast long, dancing shadows. Marcus, a young man with a penchant for the past, was immediately drawn to it. It was a vintage Polaroid, its leather casing cracked and worn, its metal trim tarnished with age. There was something about it, an inexplicable pull, a sense of a story waiting to be told. He haggled briefly with the stooped, roomy-eyed owner, a man who seemed as much a relic as his wares, and left with the camera tucked under his arm, the weight of it both solid and unsettling. Back in the familiar comfort of his apartment, the late afternoon sun streaming through the windows, Marcus felt a boyish excitement. He loaded a fresh pack of film, the click and whir of the mechanism echoing in the quiet room. He decided to take a test shot, a simple picture of his own living room. The comfortable sofa, the cluttered coffee table, the bookshelf filled with his favorite novels. The camera whirred and spat out the blank white square. He placed it on the table and watched, fascinated, as the image slowly materialized from the gray chemical haze. It was his living room, all right, but something was wrong. In the corner of the photo, near the drooping fiddle leaf fig, stood a shadow. It wasn't a trick of the light, it was a figure, indistinct and smudged, but undeniably human-shaped, lurking where nothing should be. A knot of unease tightened in his stomach. He tried to rationalize it, a flaw in the old lens, a chemical bleed on the expired film. But the explanation felt hollow. Driven by a mix of curiosity and a growing dread, he took another photo, this time of his empty hallway. The process repeated, and as the image swam into view, the figure was there again. It was no longer in the corner, but stood at the far end of the hall, slightly closer, its form a little sharper. He could almost make out the shape of a long dress, the suggestion of flowing hair. Panic began to prickle at the back of his neck. He moved through his apartment like a man possessed, snapping pictures of the kitchen, the bedroom, the bathroom. Each photograph was a fresh wave of terror. The spectral form drew nearer with every click of the shutter, its features slowly resolving from a blur into the pale, sorrowful face of a woman. His heart hammered against his ribs, a frantic drumbeat in the suffocating silence of the apartment. He knew he had to stop, to throw the camera away, to run, but a morbid compulsion held him captive. He had to see, he had to know. For the final shot, he stood before the large, ornate mirror in his hallway. His own reflection a pale, terrified mask. His hands trembled as he raised the camera, framing his face. He pressed the button. The flash was a blinding starburst, momentarily erasing the world. The camera ejected the final photo. He watched it develop, his breath held tight in his chest. The image cleared, showing him standing there, his eyes wide with horror. And directly behind him, so close he could almost feel a cold breath on his neck, stood the ghostly woman. Her face was now terrifyingly clear, her eyes dark, empty pits. A skeletal hand was reaching out, its fingers just inches from his shoulder. He slowly, so slowly, lowered the camera, his gaze lifting from the photograph to the mirror. The camera slipped from his nerveless fingers and clattered onto the hardwood floor. It lay there, a silent, malevolent object. With a final ghostly whir, it ejected one last photo. The image that bloomed on its surface was of the empty room he had just occupied. The mirror reflected nothing but the opposite wall. But cast upon that wall, bathed in the soft light from the window, were two shadows side by side, their forms elongated and overlapping, as if cast by two figures standing together as one.